Um, that scene literally lives in my mind because it was so disturbing and so weird.
Welcome back, everyone, to Chaotic Angels with Shotguns. I am Allie, and I am joined by my friend Casey. And we're going to be talking about your favorite TV shows, or probably your least favorite TV shows, movies, actors, and any topic that's related to entertainment. Casey and I have very different tastes, but very similar ones at the same time. So we're gonna be discussing and sometimes even monologuing these topics. So Casey, what's the topic for tonight?
The topic is The Boys, which we're gonna probably get a lot of fans possibly. They'll like this mainly because
Yeah,
of
we hope.
we hope. Yeah.
All right, so yeah, we're gonna be talking about this very insane show that's on Amazon Prime, and well, it basically was written for television, and the showrunner is Eric Kripke. I bet some of our listeners know who he is, but first, let's talk a little bit about um, what the show is about for those who do not mind getting spoiled, because we are going to have a lot of spoilers on this episode. But if you don't mind getting spoiled and want to give the show a try, then let me tell you something about it. Basically, The Boys is about what would happen if the world had real superheroes around, and what these superheroes would be like in reality. If they would be, like um, the real Captain America, if they would, have honest ideals or not. So the show goes around some superheroes and also a group of men called the Boys. So Casey, how did you get into the show?
Well, I think it was a few years ago when Jensen was like announced, for Soldier Boy, and I was like, maybe I can just check this out, because I saw a lot of people on Twitter like talking about it, so I just decided to watch it, and honestly, like from the moment I started watching it, it was super intense, and I was not ready for many of the scenes. But it's pretty good. Like that's how I basically started watching it. I think I binge watched like 2 seasons within like weeks. But it was pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that a good part of this fandom was brought to the show by Supernatural or something related to that. Because obviously the showrunner is Eric Kripke, who created Supernatural. And now we, the fans of Supernatural, are very excited to have Jensen Ackles as Soldier Boy. Um, we're not ready for that. We're not prepared for that, but we'll talk about that later. Yeah, I also got into it like late last year because I also got into Supernatural late last year. And it is a very intense show. I believe that it's not for everyone in terms of the kind of topics it addresses or the kind of content that it shows. But it's definitely a good show with an amazing message to deliver.
Yeah. It's some of the stuff that's in the show is it's a little intense.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like intense topics and things that happen in it. Again, like my co-host said, it is not for everybody. It's just kind of like if you enjoy that kind of humor, or if you enjoy like dark humor, or if you enjoy like watching those types of things, then you can definitely watch it. But if you are kind of queasy and you don't enjoy like blood or gore or anything like that, you can just avoid this and watch something else because it's not for everybody. It's very, very intense.
Yeah, because honestly, I was one of those people that did not like intense shows of that type of that kind. But I was really into the story and the writing. So let's get on with that. Casey, who's your favorite character about from The Boys? From that group of characters. Who's your favorite one and why?
Okay, well, I love Frenchie, and I also love the Butcher, mainly because I enjoy the actor Carl Urban. I think he's amazing, and he also played in the Lord of the Rings, so I'm just kind of like a fan of his. He's a very good actor, and he's also very attractive. So it's like, wow, you know?
Yeah, definitely he is.
Yeah, and Frenchie because like his character is just so funny. Like what he says sometimes is just hilarious. And he's very just like very open-minded. Just kind of like talks, you know, how he's feeling. He's just very just up there, and I love that. Yeah, those two are my probably my favorite. Um, you know,
Yeah, for me, with The Boys, I don't know, it's complicated, because Billy Butcher definitely is an amazing character, and it's a beautiful performance by Carl Urban. He just understands that character very well, and even with all, the violence, that this character has and all the anger, it's so great to see, how driven he is and how much he cares about people, and even if he shows it in a very, you know, controversial way, he does care about people. So yeah, I think definitely Billy is a favorite one for a lot of fans. And to me, like I have to go with Huey as well. And mainly because not only he's like the sweetest guy in the world, but um, Huey has an amazing transformation along the show. It's like beginning he's just a dude selling what's that, TVs and radios and stuff, and he evolves so much, but he does not lose like that part of him that is nice, that is caring, that is honest. So it's just a beautiful transformation, and a character that knows who he is and that he tries to just stick to everything that he learned, uh, you know, along his life. So definitely Billy and Huey are my favorite characters from The Boys, and yeah, Frenchie obviously it's like the most, the funniest little guy that there is. So now, moving on to the soups. Who's your favorite superhero for this very controversial show?
well, um, honestly, they're all like really really bad in their own way, but yeah, some of the characters are very very bad. Um, but I like Starlight. I think she's, first she was like a little innocent and a little like, I'm not gonna do much or say anything, and then later she, stood up for herself, which is amazing. And then Queen Maeve, I love her. I think that she is also like a very strong, woman.
Yeah,
Um, and I think that she like, uh, if she wanted to like take over the world, she definitely could do it. Um,
totally. Yeah, she's very powerful, not just physically, but with who she is. Yeah,
yeah, like her characteristic is very, powerful. Like, she's also kind of like weak at sometimes, with her girlfriend,
yeah.
um, which really did show her soft side, which I'd love to see. And I want to say Homelander. Uh,
Of course.
kind of gave me like a lot of shit for this, but listen, yeah. Anthony Starr, freaking so good at acting. I just like I hated that character from the moment I saw him, but later it just became so much better. Like the whole acting, the whole like his whole character. him being a little bit of an asshole is just so good. And the actor, is super good. Just the way that he delivers his lines and the way that he just kind of becomes the character is so good. Yeah, that's basically all I have. I don't. Um, I don't remember the other name of this other dude that was in there, but it was Black Noir. Yeah, him.
Oh yeah, Black Noir. Yeah,
Say anything, nothing. Yet he's iconic.
he's very iconic. Definitely. Yeah, it's like I don't know. He was a good addition to the team. And for myself, I also have to discuss obviously Homelander because my brother watched the show before I did, and I was like, God, I hate Homelander so much. And he was like, but that's the greatest part about him, like, that's just who he is, and that's the idea of creating Homelander. So definitely along the show, you just learn to love to hate him, like, you love to hate this character so much, and all the that he does to the rest of the characters, like he I don't want to say he's misunderstood, because we do see like part of his past along the show, but he definitely he's a very one of the most complicated characters that I've seen in my life, and definitely Anthony Starr does a magnificent job at that character. I mean, the way that he portrays Homelander that is, for the soups, and the Homelander that is, such a jackass, and then he has to portray the Homelander that the country wants to see, and the good Homelander, that transition and that contrast that Anthony manages to do with Homelander is amazing. And for me, it has to be, also Queen Maeve, because, as you said, she could, take down the world by herself if she wanted. She has such strong ideals, and she also knows, who she is. And even if, she's very troubled with the whole Homelander thing, she's very troubled with, the ethics of Vought and the soups, she still manages to do the right thing, and she's a badass fighting as well. So yeah, I think that I agree with you with those two characters that are just insane. The casting was, a big part of this show. Like, if the casting had been wrong, it wouldn't be the show that it is. And I mean, of course, that applies to 1,000 shows that we've seen, but in this case, I think that if the actors did not understand the characters or the purpose of the show, it wouldn't work.
Yeah, that's true. Also, like, a lot of the actors that I saw were like in other shows that I watched, like the guy who plays Bobby in Supernatural, or the guy who plays Gus Fring from Breaking Bad. His acting is out of this world. That dude is so good.
He is. I mean, in Breaking Bad, he is just, well, in both shows, I think his character is very similar. I don't want to say, I don't mean that in a bad way, but definitely very similar characters, with, secrets, complicated morals and stuff. But he just, the way that he is very cold, and calculating, and I don't know, he definitely is one of the best parts of The Boys and of Breaking Bad as well. I also, I was kind of rewatching it, but rewatching it is like a long job, and if I had rewatched it, probably this episode would be like 6 hours. But yeah, I think that one of my favorite things about the show, as I was saying before, is Huey's journey and transformation along it, because it was really heartbreaking, to see like when he leaves his father, and his father does not understand what's going on, and he's just like, I have to go. And those little details that give some a touch of realism to the show, because it's like, yes, exactly, what happens to the father that's left there, like, so it's like a very realistic touch that I think the show had. And obviously the romantic relationship with Starlight, that it was such a beautiful thing that they did. In such a messed up show, I think that it was really beautiful.
Yeah. And also with Kimiko and Frenchie, I think that that was the most cutest thing ever.
Yeah,
Um,
it definitely was.
a lot of people shipped him, I know that, but it's just like first when he meets her, she's kind of like scared and like just kind of not wanting to talk or do anything, kind of, and then she kind of like opens up to him, and they become like this. They have like this very cute relationship. I think that's adorable. Like I love it. It's so good.
Yeah, what is amazing about that relationship is exactly that from the beginning, we see, the sensitive and empathetic, side of Frenchie, because he's like, I released her because I thought she was, harmless, and everyone did not see that, but he definitely did. And the way that he's just always protecting her and taking care of her, but he also is very careful not to hover, and not to invade her privacy. It's just so great because, as you said, he's very open-minded, and I think he's very progressive in that sense, because he's like, I'm here to help her, but it's also something that she has to do on her own. So that's what I think that was well achieved with Frenchie and Kimiko, because she knew that she could trust him, but he was also like taking, giving her space and giving her time to, to just get all these things out of her head, the trauma and everything that she had.
Yeah, I mean, she went through a lot of trauma. We saw that, season two.
Hmm.
And with her brother and stuff, it was completely intense. And
Yeah.
honestly, understandable, because like understandable in the sense that like, okay, like she doesn't want to talk. That's probably the reason why, she went through a lot. Kind of understood that. So he kind of like, as you said, gave her space and, tried to be not much like a helicopter boyfriend, but more like, like not being too overprotective, but he was, still protecting her in a lot of ways. Yeah, I definitely see that.
Yeah, it's a French and Kimiko. It's like, and that's what's so great about, the contrast between the relationship between Huey and Starlight and Kimiko and Frenchie. It's like Huey and Starlight was like a more conventional type of relationship. We meet, we like each other, we date. So it was a very conventional thing. Even if Huey was lying to her the whole time, but it was, the conventional kind of relationship that starts. And then French and Kimiko is like totally different and still well done, you know. And talking about, love and relationships, I was also so into MM and his family. He is such an amazing character, and maybe, I don't know, as I've seen social media lately, I feel like a lot of people would maybe call MM like a boring character because he's like the empathetic one, the quiet one and everything. But he's so amazing because he is a badass. He can fight, he can use weapons and whatever. But all the time he's worried, and he has his family in his heart. So I think that the show explores, as much as it explores, the gore the controversial things about uh, the soups, I think it also explores, human relationships, and I think that that's what they did with MM.
Yeah. I was kind of shocked to see him with his family because I thought that he only had a girlfriend.
Mm.
And when his children came about, I was like, whoa, this is pretty big. But yeah, he's also a very complex character. I don't know why people call him boring. I think that's really dumb.
Yeah.
I think that he's just unique in his own way. Having his girlfriend or wife, and having children, he's kind of like, I guess he's kind of like, trying to stay out of danger, but he's also kind of like a badass because he doesn't want to get hurt because of his family, but then he has to get into these fights because he is the boys, which is so good at. It's just very good, and he's also very good at acting. Just so good. Like the Frenchie and MM scenes had me laughing. It was very, very good.
Yeah, definitely there's a good chemistry with Frenchie and MM because they kind of like to keep things controlled, when Billy goes nuts. Um and definitely MM is so complicated because he's like he does not want to go back to the life, that Billy goes to call him for. He does not want to, return to that. But at the same time, there's also the ethical part of it because in the end, Billy and the rest of the boys want to do the ethical part and expose the soups and expose what they do, which is really messed up. So MM is driven by the ethical part of, yes, I want to fix this, but I also don't want to die trying because I have family.
Yeah. I could definitely see him struggle, with his family and also like being kind of like a different kind of superhero, I guess. Um, I guess they could be classified as superheroes, maybe. I feel like the Butcher would like to be called one. But yeah, I feel like they have some kind of like characteristics of superhero, but not really.
Yeah, I think that probably the show tries to do that in a way, because in the reality that the show is set in, the superheroes are Homelander and Content, right? The Seven. But the show probably tries to have the opposite team, which is the boys, and they are like the antagonists for the Seven, but at the same time they are the ones who are trying to do the right thing, and obviously doing it with all the wrong ways, obviously because they with the violence and kidnapping translucent, which is like the first thing that happens in the show. So I think that the show kind of does that on purpose, like trying to show these guys as the real heroes of the show, and just antagonizing constantly with the Seven, and uh, definitely I feel like you don't even know anymore, like what's the limit for it, for the things they'll do, right? You don't even know. It's like every time they do something, you think that's the worst thing they've done, and then they go and do something even worse. So I think that that's like the basic idea for the show.
Yeah, I mean, talk about like intense. I mean, there's like a scene where a dolphin dies flying out of a flying out of a van. There's a laser baby. There's a lot of things in there that's like, oh, we're going here.
Exactly. We're watching it, minding our business, real chill, and then we see the laser baby, right? And it's like they took a baby from him, like his little crib, I don't know, and it's like they're using the baby to kill all these guards. And the dolphin thing was really triggering for me, because going personal, I'm not into anything that has to do with animal abuse on shows and stuff. I avoid that, and it's like really triggering for me. So seeing that dolphin thing was definitely one of the many times that I had to cover my eyes watching the show. Because if I'm being honest, I mean, with all the gory stuff that happens, I had to cover my eyes and just keep listening to stuff. Because it was like so messed up, like mainly, with the deep, with the gills. It was so disturbing to see that. I don't know if it was for you, but it was really disturbing.
It was weird. You know, because I watched Game of Thrones, or I watched Game of Thrones. So I'm just kind of like do it, like animal murder, incest, things like that. I'm like super just okay. We're gonna do this.
You got used to it, right?
I just got used to it because I watched, The Walking Dead or Game of Thrones, and Game of Thrones had a lot of intense moments where you were like, okay, so we're gonna do this. And also I've been watching Euphoria, so I kind of got like used to it. So when I saw the dolphin dying, I'm like, okay, this is the most weirdest thing I've ever saw. And then also like the gills part was super weird for me. I had to like, fast forward it because I was like, I'm not gonna see it. It was weird. The girl was completely weird. And I did not know that the deep had gills, which, yeah, it was very, very disturbing. And I don't know why she decided to do that, but oh my God. Just like I'm trying to block it from my brain, but it's still there. It lives there.
I saw Chase Crawford on Gossip Girl. I don't know if you're a fan of Gossip Girl, but yeah. So I was so excited to see Chase Crawford in a new role, and I was like, I even wanted to see him shirtless, because obviously he's, amazingly attractive. And when they give us, shirtless Chase Crawford with disgusting gills, it's like he's so ruined for me. It was definitely ruined for me. So I'm gonna stick to my image of his character in Gossip Girl. And stay with that, because if not, I'm gonna have to block Chase Crawford out of my mind completely, and I don't want to do that.
Yeah, I definitely relate to that. I have seen him on Gossip Girl, and I was a fan of his, but also a fan of Chuck Bass.
Oh yeah.
I was a huge fan of his. I'm like, oh my God, that dude was so attractive. I was more like a Chuck girl, but I loved Chase Crawford, honestly. But this kind of just ruined him for me.
Totally, exactly. Because I was always a Nate girl. For those who are listening and love Gossip Girl, because who can hate Nate, right? So I was always like, I'm gonna stick with Nate, and now Chase Crawford. It's a whole other deal for me now.
Yeah, I mean, wait until like Jensen comes in it.
I was thinking exactly that with Jensen, because I'm like so excited and so I'm going insane with the whole Soldier Boy thing, and I really hope that they do not ruin Jensen Ackles for us, because obviously we know that what type of character he's gonna be. Obviously we know that, but I hope there are no like too disturbing surprises.
I wouldn't say that. I mean, I feel like there's gonna be some very weird scenes, especially Hero-gasm. Cannot be ready for that because I don't want to see this man naked because I just like the image of him that I have is Dean Winchester, and I can't think of anything else. And when I think of Soldier Boy, I'm like, oh my God, it's gonna be super weird.
I was thinking the exact same thing, because probably as Dean Winchester, we did not see a lot of shirtless scenes, and let alone less clothing, but I was cool with that because I respect Jensen so much as an actor that I always thought he does not need that kind of, you know, those kind of scenes to perform beautifully and stuff. So I have so much respect for him, and that's the worst thing about it, that he's such a wonderful actor that we know that he's going to deliver his lines and his characters so amazingly as Soldier Boy that it's intimidating actually to think what he's going to do as that character.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very, very excited to see him on the screen, something other than supernatural. I feel like it's going to be super wild. And what he said about the Soldier Boy has me very concerned. It's so hard for me to just process that. Like, so seeing Jensen become something else other than Dean is gonna just blow my mind. I'm gonna be always thinking about it.
Yeah, it's definitely it's scary at some point, to just think about a new character and the type of character that he's gonna be playing, because I've seen some tweets about him, like put Jensen Ackles in a romantic comedy, and it's like, yes, please, thank you very much. But we wouldn't be scared to see that, because it would be like something that we would have loved to see, and we would fall in love with his character. But this is a whole different deal, and definitely what he said about Kripke giving him stuff that he couldn't do in Supernatural. I mean, my mind cannot even go there. I cannot even think of the type of things he's gonna do there. Um, because Eric Kripke being the main writer of the voice, it's pretty disturbing as well. Obviously he has the graphic novels behind him to write, but it's not the same thing. But him being the main writer for the show, it's quite scary and intimidating. With him having Jensen beside him. With Homelander, I feel like it's gonna be like a hard competition, if you want to see it, of who's gonna be the worst character, because Homelander is like the worst of the seven, but now that it's gonna be Soldier Boy, it's like it's gonna be tough.
It's gonna be super weird. I'm honestly like, I'm excited but also terrified at the same time. I mean, like if I thought about, like, I mean, I always think about this. It always lives in my brain. But if like Supernatural was like in um another network, how different would that be?
Mm.
And if it wasn't a different network and we got this, The Boys, it would have been a different experience. But since like we didn't see Dean, like you said, shirtless or anything like that, like we didn't see, his entire butt. But this, we're just gonna be seeing his butt, seeing him naked,
Yeah.
which is gonna be weird to me because I cannot imagine this man naked, and it just doesn't work for me. It's gonna be uncomfortable, and I'm not gonna be ready for it. But I'm also gonna be like, oh my god, this man is naked.
I think that we're gonna be so shocked that it's not gonna be as much as covering our eyes, but we're gonna be like staring at the screen, with the with the big impression of that scene. So yeah, I think that obviously we're gonna make an episode of season 3 because it deserves an episode. But I was also thinking about going back to disturbing stuff, the Deep's downfall of of how they kick him out of the soups. I don't know. I still haven't made up my mind about that, because I think it was a good storyline, but probably it was like a misuse of the character. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Um, I mean, the Deep being kind of like a pervert. I thought that it was a little like it was a little different. I mean, and what he made Starlight do, and that whole scene was kind of disturbing. Um, but like he got kicked out, and then he went to like a church-like place, which was like off-brand for him. And the way he just like transformed into this, like how people like go after they do something horrible, they go find Jesus. The Deep kind of went through that kind of transformation, finding finding Jesus kind of type of deal. But of course his was way different. Like, but also the ending of season 2 and my mind blown. I was I needed like 2 or 3 business days to collect myself. Speaking of the Deep, but yeah, I was very, very shook.
Yeah, you know what I mean, as I told you, I'm like conflicted with that storyline. But like what I think that they tried to do with the Deep was like kind of mock the whole cancel culture that we have right now, because definitely with the soups, marketing and publicity has like the power. So I think that they took that part of the Deep, and that whole transformation, just to show that, like, you cannot do this anymore because you're gonna get canceled, and we cannot afford that you get canceled. It's like, and then he did like this ridiculous interviews with like a fake wife and everything. So I think that it was like kind of a mockery for the cancel culture. And
Like you said, the PR teams kind of do this. They kind of like push it on to the person that was involved in a controversy. They kind of like write it on a notes app, and they're like, "This is the apology." Everybody kind of like, some people accept it and some people don't. I think he had that kind of deal. But the PR team was very just like, PC, like, here's the apology, and he's never gonna do it again. And with the whole wife thing, and it was just a whole PR stunt. So I, like, it had me very conflicted and very like, is this gonna happen now? It was so weird. Like, it was kind of like out of character. I don't know if that was what you also thought, but that's what I thought, honestly, watching the entire thing. He just became like a whole new person.
yeah, that's why I was conflicted, as you said, because it's like it kind of uh out of character. Yeah, definitely. Because it's like, who transforms like that, and who manages to do that? But but I think that that's what made, like, a more realistic character for the Deep, like going through that, and just not knowing what to do with yourself, and not knowing what to do after you lost something that you thought was yours, because he thought that his place in the Seven was like forever, and he didn't know what to do with himself, when he was kicked out. But I think that also, Chase made an amazing job with this character, because as we were saying with Gossip Girl, we had the image of him, of Nate Archibald, and that image just left us as we saw him as the Deep, So I think that in the end it was an amazing performance by Chase, um, making us forget that he was Nate Archibald.
I did. I was gonna say something. Now I forgot it. But his character was very. I thought they were gonna do the same thing to Translucent, because he showed up naked, and then and with the Deep, it was just like none of his friends supported him, and he was just kind of all alone, and he just had himself. So I felt that he struggled with that too, finding support. And, like you said, he thought the seven was going to be forever. And maybe it would have been forever if his friends like stood up for him. But then what he did was wrong. So the whole confliction, honestly, and with Starlight and Homelander, it was very, very intense. There was a lot of intensity.
Yeah, like you said, I had not thought about it that way. The whole contrast between how they act about Translucent and how they act about the Deep. But as you said, Translucent did nothing wrong publicly. Obviously, the seven were concerned because he was missing because they did not know what was going on. But I think that totally it was like for the Deep, the loss of support from the rest. It was a huge deal for him because he thought they were friends.
Definitely, he probably did, and with A Train being addicted to like that serum, and then him kind of like killing Huey's girlfriend, and they them covering it up. I feel like that's literally what would happen if superheroes were real. The same, you know, it's like covering it up, gaslighting, manipulating. It would all happen. Literally. Like when I watched it, I was like, listen, if Quicksilver or any of those Marvel or DC characters were real, it would literally be the same thing. The PR team would push it, like Russell killed her. I didn't see where I was going. That's what he said literally, which was stupid. It had me shook. I'm like, you what? What kind of apology is that? Like, I didn't see her? What does that even mean? Like, you're going too fast. What?
Um, but totally, I mean, like, I feel like with A Train, it was like such a messed up thing, you know, because you just think that they lost control, of the whole publicity thing, because A Train is kind of on his own all the time with the Compound B, and it's like with Translucent missing and Deep and everything, it's so hilarious to see how they how they lost control of what the public was seeing. And it's as you said, I think that in a messed up world like the one we have now, uh definitely superheroes would be created, with serums and crazy stuff like that. And with people, with the people that control our world, it definitely would be something like that. And it's honestly a scary thought to think, people like Homelander, uh, being able to fly, and with the whole plane incident, that was one of the most. I mean, The Boys is a shocking show overall, but the plane thing was just disturbing.
It was messed up. I was like, what? Like, I'm supposed to be a superhero? Like, is this what you're supposed to do?
Hmm.
Uh, but literally, I feel like it would be the same. Like, they'd just be very cocky and, like, full of themselves because, they're superheroes. And I definitely do think that it would be like that. But, me being a Marvel fan, um, I could definitely see, like, Chris, like Captain America, because he was from maybe like I think he was from the 40s or maybe the 20s.
No, it's 40s.
Yeah, 40s. So like, him being from the 40s, it would be so weird for him to just step into the real world. Like it would be super weird because he'd be like, "What? There's cell phones now," and having that initial shock, and then like being full of himself because he's literally alive at that time, at this time. Also like Iron Man, at first he was kind of cocky, and full of himself, and then later he just became, character arc, he became a little bit better, But I would definitely think that, if superheroes were real, that they would be like Homelander. Literally. I seriously do think that. Just blow themselves rich. They have all this luxury and they don't care about anybody else. And the whole plane scene literally proved that. Maeve was like, we should save them. And Homelander was like, nope, they're not gonna die.
For sure, yeah. I mean, it's like, uh, he could have saved them, because he's got this insane power of flying and stuff. He could have saved them, but he was like, because he's such a messed up person, he did not, and I think that it was amazing that they also had Maeve in that scene, because it's the whole I do want to save them, and isn't that what we're supposed to do, right? So it's like, as you said, if we had um Captain America and stuff. We were talking about this with my brother the other day about how realistically, if Captain America came to live in our times, with the whole racism issues and uh, all of that was so messed up in the 40s, I think that he would bring that with him and be like a really, you know, a bigoted person, just like Soldier Boy is going to be, So that's like the beauty of the show, like in the end, it's kind of realistic. If you take away the violence and this visual effects, it's a very realistic show, and it has, like very realistic characters in the end. Like, yeah, because I feel like uh, I feel like the way that they addressed the plane thing, even they because they even included the army, because Homelander was saying like, if we were in the army, this would never happen. This would have never happened, right? And it's like it even touches the topic and the controversial thing of the U.S. Army and what they really do, and it's like, I think that that's like an amazing part of the show, that it becomes realistic at some point.
Yeah, I definitely do. I was going to mention the racism part,
Hmm.
because like Steve Rogers was, it was the 40s, like, when things were still happening, and I seriously don't know how he would act at this time, this time frame, because again, it's super different. And there was a black president, and then I mean, where would he even sign on all of this? I don't.
Totally.
I've always thought about that. And also with like Bucky and like the
I was
other,
gonna say that, yeah.
it would be super different. And with the Hulk or like Thor or anybody like and they would be completely different. The Hulk would be very, very violent. I would definitely see him be super violent. And yeah, honestly, from what I've seen from the comic books, yeah, super, super violent. Um, I definitely would be scared of the Hulk at that time.
And going back to what you said about Bucky, it was addressed briefly in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, right? With when Sam was almost arrested because he was supposedly creating you know a drama and a fight on the street, and Bucky did not understand that because he did not literally understand the racial issue that was going on, and he was like, give him your ID, and Sam was like, I'm not gonna give him my ID. And it's like it was very brief, and many people denied that was the take for that scene, but it was there, like these people, I mean, Steve and Bucky, like, they're not from this time, so they're not supposed to know what's going on. They're not supposed to be aware of how things are now. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I do. Yeah, I don't. I briefly remember that scene. And yeah, I would definitely think. I definitely thought that he didn't understand it. When it was going down. And they were they were brought to therapy, I think, or maybe the police. It was super different. And the boys kind of like addressed some issues too. Like the Me Too movement or that woman that was a Nazi, which completely made me shook. I was like, "What? She a Nazi?" But like her, she being a Nazi and being like racist. I just like I was glad that she died.
Totally, I was so glad. I mean, Stormfront, um, it was a very conflicting thing that they put Stormfront and Homelander together. I was like, I thought I couldn't hate anything more than Homelander, and then they go and put these characters together. It's like, are you joking? Why are you making these horrible characters get together and be even worse together? It's like it's what we were saying, when the voice gives you something messed up, you think that's the worst, and then it's not. Because Stormfront is so messed up, like she's horrible and she's, yeah, racist, and she's I think that she's even kind of misogynistic. A misogynist, because it's like, yeah, she was a Nazi, and it's so messed up, that they even put together Homelander and Stormfront.
But I don't know if you remember the sex scene between Homelander and.
Oh god, I was kind of blocking it out of my head, and now you brought it up.
Yeah, I do that. Um, that scene literally lives in my mind because it was so disturbing and so weird that I just
God.
process it because it was just like what, like the whole laser thing, the whole like weird kinky things that she has. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
girls even have kinks. That answers the question. Yes, they do. But, like it was so weird. And Homelander actually thinking that it was like a relationship kind of like broke my heart a little bit because I was like, what? He actually wants a relationship with this woman? Because like again, like Homelander is kind of like the face of America, and Stormfront is a Nazi, which putting them together was super weird. So like giving her a lot, like maybe like like a little message, if you think about it. But like it was super weird, and the sex scene even made it worse. I was like, what? When watching it, I couldn't move my eyes away from it. Like it was so disturbing that I watched it. Like I wanted to close my eyes, but I couldn't because it was kind of like watching a car crash or something. At first it's like horrible, but you keep watching it because it's literal, just very, very disturbing. It was so.
It was horrible, definitely. I mean, it's 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 one of the things that you never want to see and you never expect to see, because as you said, it was also so weird that Homelander was like serious about it. Because at first I thought it was just gonna be about sex, and I was like, okay, that makes sense. But then it was serious, and I was like, why would they, they gave Homelander like a heart, and you did not want to see that, and it made sense because of his childhood things. But that scene definitely, as you said, it lives in my mind, and then I block it out, and then moments like this one bring it up, and I think that I'm gonna have nightmares today. Um, but it was it was like,
I don't want to bring up another thing, but it's gonna live in your head too.
okay, what is it? What is it?
The scene where he was drinking that milk.
Oh God, no, no.
I was like, what? Because like the way that he was doing it was like, are you eating it out? What are you doing? Like it was such a weird. experience. Like I wish, like I felt very dirty after watching that.
As a writer, watching that storyline and that thing with the milk made me feel so crappy as a writer. I was like, I could never write something like that. Like it would never cross my mind to write something like that. And it's just, where did they get that from? And what was, the thought process of this person to write something like that? And definitely, it feeds Homelander's character. I think it does. Being so messed up and so disturbed. But as a writer, I felt bad because I was like, I'm never gonna be able to write like that.
I mean, would you want to write like that? I certainly wouldn't. I mean,
Because as we kind of diverted for a moment there. I wanted to talk about, like, uh what a great character Billy Butcher is. I think we haven't talked about him enough. Like, because what's so beautiful about that character is his motivation. Like, what makes a good character is a motivation. And it's the same for Huey. But with Billy, it's so deep. Like, with his wife, and then finding out about the kid and Homelander. It's it's some character, yeah, it's some character trauma that you do not see every day.
yeah. It completely broke me. Billy the Butcher being in love and having a wife, it kind of shocked me at first because I didn't
Mm.
see it like that. But then, like when he was with his wife, I was like, "This is the most cutest thing ever." And also the son being Homelander was like, "What?" And the son having powers like the Homelander, like laser eyes and stuff. I was like, oh my god, this is so weird. And I don't know if you remember the last episode,
Mm-hmm.
when he was with the kid, and I think he was gonna like kill the kid or something. I was very shocked about that because he hates Homelander, but yet he protects the boy.
Totally.
Like, wow, this is such a weird, like a big character arc, completely. He completely changed himself. Like at first he was like, I hate Homelander, he can die in a hole. And then later he's like, Homelander has a child and I'm gonna take care of him. I'm like, what?
But I don't see it as much of a change. I see it somewhat of a, like, a side of him that was there, but he was keeping it because obviously he had to be like tough and you know keep all that. I feel like it just came out with this kid.
And the Butcher's relationship with Huey completely changed. Like he became kind of like a father to him. Not like really like a father, more like a big brother maybe, which I definitely um imagined it. I'm like, this would be so beautiful. But like, when Huey was like on the bed and he was just standing over him, talking about his cologne, I was like, this is literally what a big brother would do.
Because he lost his father basically. He can't go back to his dad, and Billy just took over. Like, okay, this kid does not have a dad. I'm gonna be the dad. I'm gonna be the big brother. I thought it was, maybe we're too into supernatural or maybe we're traumatized, but I think it was a very Dean thing for him to do. Like, I see this kid, I'm gonna protect him. It's like what Dean did all over the show. So I feel like it was, like, I feel like the Boys has a lot of homages to Supernatural because Kripke obviously wanted to do that.
Yeah, I was gonna say that right now, and you kind of like read my mind. But I definitely see like the Butcher being more like Dean in a lot of ways. Like with Claire, he was very protective of her, or with like Jack being kind of like a dad or like a big brother. or like with Ben, like being that protective person, like wanting to protect those that are innocent, definitely lies with Billy the Butcher. I definitely could see it. Like he looks like a very tough dude. He's like, I'm very, very tough. I'm gonna like punch a dude in the face. But then later he's like, I'm gonna take care of a child.
And maybe a lot of people will disagree with us, saying no, but you know, Kripke let go of Supernatural. Why don't you let go of Supernatural? But let us do that, you know, because it's like,
Listen, this is what we think, okay? This is our opinion. You can have your own opinion. That is completely fine. But just let us be. Like, I need to let this out.
we can talk about that in another episode. But for now, how about we wrap it up for The Voice and talk about, you know, our insane ideas for actors in another one. Yeah, so it was really fun. As usual, we have very strong opinions. Remember, audience, we do not apologize for our opinions. And we definitely will talk about a lot of more shows, actors, movies, and any controversial stuff that we find on the internet. So I'm Allie.
I'm Casey.
And we are the Chaotic Angels with Shotguns. And thank you for listening to our podcast.
Yes, thank you for listening.
But Dean drives a 67 and it's not a stick shift.
But you know, the way that he drives, like the way that Jensen did that whole entire scene, I have a video of it because he goes like 180 and then he like drives back and there's like blood on his face. That whole scene is so hot.
We could make an episode of that scene, you know, like
we can definitely talk about it. I can talk about it for 2 hours, maybe even more. It's so hot. Like oh my god.
and when we learned that Jensen learned to do that like in like 1 hour, it's like,
dude, oh my god, Jensen. He's talented and he's hot and he's like cute at the same time. But he's also like, oh, this man annoys me. Like the same with Sebastian Stan. This man is literally just talented.
You know what? That's an idea, you know, an episode, you and me, Sebastian Stan, Jensen Ackles. I could do that. I mean, no sweat. I don't need to do any research. I don't need to go back to anything. I could just talk about it, you know, like these men, I swear, they are the men who I stay straight for, you know, like because